I've also signed my part in the divorce papers so that I can divorce you anytime. I can live without you. Do you understand? That's enough.
After he spent all my money for his own selfish desires, I swore to myself that I would ruin his social life. My name is Tracy, and I turned 35 years old this year. Recently, my life has finally settled down and peaceful days have returned. It all started when I became friends with a certain person I worked with at the same company. That person was Kevin, who later became my husband. Kevin and I were close enough to drink together even after everyone else had left the company drinking party. That day, too, after the company drinking party was over, the two of us were having an after party and we asked each other who we like. We got excited talking about things like that, and by the time we realized it, the last train had already gone. By the way, I was interested in him at the time, and he had apparently been interested in me for a long time, so we disappeared into the night town together since there was no last train available. We spent the night together and started dating. I had just turned 30 at the time and was thinking that I wanted to get married soon. So I said to him, "It is me being selfish, but if we're going to date at this age, please date me with marriage in mind."
Of course, I'm glad as that's the plan, but I'm kinda lame to be proposed to, aren't I?
We said it laughing at each other. Since we started dating, we went out for drinks together after work and went on trips using paid leave, and so on. Then one night, he made a reservation at a restaurant with a slightly luxurious night view. After finishing the meal, he took out a ring and proposed to me. I kind of guessed it, but I was very happy. At a later date, after we had both families meet and report to people at work, we got married a month later. We were blessed by everyone at work, and both my parents and I cried and were very happy at the same time. After we got married, we rented the house and lived there together, but my parents suggested that they would support us in having a brand new house built. When I asked where the money came from, they said that they had been saving money for me since I was a child for the future. Then they apparently had planned to use that money for the house to be built when I got married. I also wanted my own house in the future, so I was very happy. From then on, I carefully chose the interior and exterior so that I wouldn't regret it, and when I made up my mind, I asked my parents to get it done. Then, 2 years after Kevin and I got married, he told me,
I want to quit my job and start my own business. What do you think about it, Tracy? This is not just my problem.
"I'm not going to quit my job, but if you want to start your own business, I'll support you, and of course I'll help because we are a couple." I was a little anxious about it, but he said we could live with the in-laws if we became unable to make a living. Then, as he had my permission and the peace of mind of being able to live with his parents, he soon quit his job and became foreign capital self-employed. After he started his own business, he made a profit in the first year, but as the second and third years went on, his business started to be in the red. Then after all, we couldn't cover our living expenses with just my income, so I made a suggestion to him. "We should ask my parents to get a new house built because we cannot make ends meet with your income and my income, I'm sorry, but then we won't have to pay rent. I've already decided on the interior to a certain extent. It will take 1 to 3 months until the house is built if I ask them now, but in the meantime, you see, your mom told us before that we could go back to their house, so why don't you talk to them?" However, he wasn't willing to do that, saying,
I've been thinking about asking for a new house for a long time. But it's not a good idea to go back to their house, because I'm the one who decided to start my own business and I can't just go back there so openly. Besides, my sister is apparently at their house now.
I was disgusted that he still couldn't let go of his vanity during a situation like this. I mean, he easily said yes to the new house, though. Then the next day, for some reason, he was a complete change from yesterday and began to talk like this.
We're going to live at my parents' house from this weekend, so we'll have to pack our stuff and make an arrangement to leave this house.
It was so out of the blue, so I asked him what happened. Then he apparently called his mom after I went to bed to see if we could move in with them for a while. Then she allowed us, apparently. So I also asked my parents about the new house, and we prepared to move in with my in-law. From what my husband told me, they said they would welcome us generously, so I decided to take their word for it until the new house was built. At the time, I had no idea that this was the beginning of hell. After completing the procedure to cancel the contract for the current house, we headed to my in-laws' house. However, when we arrived at their house, the situation was strange. My husband said they would welcome us generously, but I felt they had a different vibe. For some reason, my mother-in-law and sister-in-law were staring at us. I felt a bit uneasy and asked them both, did I do something wrong? Is it still bothering you? Then they gave me a cold shoulder. It was a short time, but a new life began in an awkward tension. Living with my in-law was really tough. I was hated by my mother-in-law and sister-in-law, and they said something sarcastic every time something happened. When I was relaxing at home on my day off, my mother-in-law said,
"You were able to make a living thanks to my son's earnings, but you are really laid back, aren't you?"
What are you talking about, Mom? I earn more than Kevin. Then my mother-in-law and sister-in-law said,
"Why do you tell a lie like that? He said that you guys don't have enough money because of you."
How can you tell such a lie? I don't think you can complain, and you're lucky enough that we let you stay here.
They somehow thought that I don't have money, so I asked my husband why they think that way. Apparently, he said to them,
"We can't make ends meet as Tracy earns less. I'm trying hard, but I can't do it anymore."
This explains why the two of them stared at me when I arrived at their house. I asked him why he told them such a lie.
"Look, I didn't want to worry my mom and sis, and it would be lame to tell them that I failed when I decided to run my own business on my own, wouldn't it?"
What the heck? I understand he doesn't want to make them worry, but his excuse of saying it's lame doesn't make sense. My mother-in-law and sister-in-law apparently think that all the living expenses we pay to them now also come out of my husband's wallets. So it all makes sense that they are sarcastic and keep away from me when I am at home relaxing. They also have heard that the new house will be built with his money apparently, and they are ready to move in together when it's built. I don't understand this either. My parents are the ones who are paying for the new house. I was getting more and more confused, which drove me crazy. Neither of them has any money, as their mother-in-law retired and is now living on a pension, and their sister-in-law is an absolute NEET after she quit her job. So they put the bite on me as they think he has money.
"Tracy, I heard that you are in charge of his money. I'm going out with friends soon. Can you lend me $337?
It's impossible for me to suddenly lend you $337.
You're so stingy, aren't you?"
Then my sister-in-law joined, saying,
Yeah, she is. You're being fed by Kevin, aren't you?
"It's all the money I earned, so why do I have to be told this?" I couldn't stand it from the bottom of my heart. Then my husband joined the conversation and said,
"It's my money, so don't be stingy, okay? It's not a problem at all, Mom."
Really? Thanks as usual. When compared to that, you don't know how to relax, do you, Tracy?
Kevin, don't you have any for your sister? I want to buy something too, and want about $205.
Okay. You have $205 in your wallet, don't you, Tracy? Give it to her quickly.
As vain as ever, he forced me to hand them over. On top of that, it seems he can't stop lying anymore, saying,
"You're living a luxurious life like this thanks to me."
I couldn't take it anymore, so I had a chat with him. Stop showing off. I can't stand it anymore. At least, make it look like you borrowed it from me and write an IOU.
Lately your stingy attitude gets in people's hair. IOU? I'll write it down for you. It's just a piece of paper, so it doesn't mean anything. You miss the money that much?
Don't say things that don't make sense, like miss money. How much of my salary do you think you've spent?
What? If you're going to go that far, do you want a divorce? I've even signed my part of the papers so that I can divorce you at any time. I can live without you. Do you understand? That's enough? Look, I wrote you an IOU. You're making too much fuss just because I spent only $3,375 of your bonus.
When he said this, he threw the IOU at me, showing divorce papers, as if to say it was my fault. He doesn't show any signs of remorse at all. He said only $3,375, but we've only been at my in-laws for about a month. They spent my summer bonus. I could have just divorced him, but I decided to stay. Because my mother-in-law and sister-in-law still think I've been able to live on my husband's money. I wanted them to go to hell after showing the reality of the fact that my husband is spending my money as if it was his own. Then I started preparing for my revenge. First, I looked for the divorce papers that my husband had signed. Surprisingly, I found it easily. I signed my part and registered it to the city council and sneakily completed the divorce. Next, I told my husband that the new house would be completed soon and made him start preparing to move into the new house. The completion date I gave him at that time was of course a lie. It's already finished. My mother-in-law and sister-in-law seemed to be very happy with the new house. I tried my best to hold my laughter back when I saw my husband with a smug look, as if to say it was all thanks to him. He didn't even know that I was already divorced from him. I can't wait to see what kind of expressions those three jerks will have on their faces to accept this reality later on. I asked my father to put the house under his name, because if it was built under my name, it would be a problem with property division when I got divorced. My father informed me that the new house was completed, so I gradually moved my belongings into the new house. After I finished moving the last of them, I left my in-laws' house without saying a word. The new house is very comfortable, and both the interior and exterior are perfect as expected. I got so excited and spent the whole day inside the house while thinking that the smell of a new house is really nice. Then I received a phone call from my ex-husband at night.
Hey, whereabouts are you now?
Why do I have to tell you that?
Don't be ridiculous. There's no your stuff left, like your bank book or anything.
That's my stuff, so it's none of your business. You should thank me for the divorce papers you had signed, because I signed them and registered. That's about it. We're no longer related as we're divorced. Bye now.
Hey, what do you mean? I don't accept that. Hey!
I hung up while listening to his voice. I rejected the call from him because he kept ringing. Then I slept well in my new home that day. Since then, life in the new house was very comfortable, and I've been having fresh and pleasant mornings every day. I was grateful that my parents had saved money for me and helped me with that whole mess, so I invited them to my house for a party that day. My mother and I cooked together in the built-in kitchen. When the food was ready and the three of us were just about to make a toast, the intercom rang. I can guess who has come. When I looked at the intercom image, it was a trio of my ex-husband, ex-mother-in-law, and ex-sister-in-law. How did you find this place?
You didn't answer the phone, so I followed you after work and found that your new house is all ready. From today onwards, we'll be living here together. Anyway, unlock the door.
Then, my ex-mother-in-law showed up.
Listen. This house was built with Kevin's money. It doesn't belong to you. You're even a wife who has no money. You should stop doing this. Now unlock the door quickly.
Well, I'll now let you know. First of all, the money I was giving you guys was money I earned. That idiot over there was trying to show off and saying, thanks to him, but it was all my money. I have the proof here as an IOU. Besides, I'm already divorced, so we're no longer related. Then, my ex-husband turned up with a smug look.
Hey, I'll admit that we're divorced. And I'll admit that you paid for all the money so far, including the money for this house. But you know what? This house was built with your money during the marriage. So when we get divorced, I get half of the money you paid to build this house as part of the property division. If you don't want to leave this house, pay it off now. I guess you tried to trick me, but think before you act.
Well, this house is under my parents' name, and it was built with their money. I don't know what made you come across that idea, but the house built with their money won't be reflected in the property division when I divorce. Don't you know that? And thank you for admitting everything with a smug look. Now I'm going to hire a lawyer and claim the IOU and also all my money you've spent without permission. Then, my ex-husband fell to his knees on the spot, voiceless. After that, my ex-husband, ex-mother-in-law, and ex-sister-in-law became discouraged, making a fuss outside, so I called the police, explained the situation, and had them taken away before it became a nuisance to the neighborhood. As all the evidence was available on the intercom with the recording, I wasn't interviewed in detail and wasn't asked to come to the police station, so I went back inside the house to carry on the party. I then hired a lawyer to settle the matter with my ex-husband. The details were to agree to pay the amount owed and to agree to stay away. If he turns up in front of me again, he will be arrested immediately. Immediate arrest was due to the fact that the way he identified my new home was considered stalking. A stay-away order against the people in my ex-family was also issued. I heard through the grapevine that my ex-husband has not been able to run his business well since then, and that all he has is increased debt. After divorcing me, my ex-husband and ex-mother-in-law no longer had access to the money they always asked me for, and their lives became increasingly difficult. Eventually, they sold their family home and started living in a shabby apartment. I feel like they are really getting what they deserve. I, on the other hand, invited my parents to live with me in my new home, and the three of us are enjoying our new life together. I want to continue to live happily with my family, taking care of my parents well. How did you like this story? Please subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video.
Marriage. It is when two strangers become a family. To love, to be loved, to trust each other, and to share feelings. I thought that was natural when you get married. But in my case, it seems different. My husband defends only his mother, not me, and doesn't listen to me at all.
If you can't obey my mother, we'll get a divorce.
Lucas said such a thing calmly. It seems that I was the only one who thought I was loved. I can't stand this life anymore. To save my broken heart, I made a decision. My name is Elena, and I'm 28 years old. After graduating from a medical vocational school, I work as a dental assistant. I met Lucas while working and got married after 2 years of dating. Lucas, who used to be a delivery person, often visited the dental clinic where I work. At first, we were just acquaintances, but as we talked more and more, we found ourselves attracted to each other. After several meals together, our relationship developed into a romantic one. Now that we're married, we live an ordinary life with a kind husband. However, that doesn't mean I have no complaints. The only thing I can't accept in my married life with Lucas is that we started living with my in-laws at the same time as our marriage. The reason for this was the factory that his parents owned. His parents had a small factory that made machine parts. However, they couldn't keep up with the times and lost customers to another large factory that could order cheaply. As a result, the management went downhill, and they were in the red for several months. I was told about this fact just after we got married. Lucas seemed to know, but he kept quiet so as not to worry me. Due to his self-employment, their pension was already low, and they were already in the red. Their pension was about to run out. It became impossible for his parents to live with the two of them, and they had to move in with us. It was at that time, when we happened to visit his parents' house, that Lucas made this proposal.
Hey, I was thinking, wouldn't it be great if Elena and I lived together in this house?
Huh? Wait, Lucas. What are you saying all of a sudden? Ignoring my confusion, Lucas continued.
Well, my parents are really struggling, and I'm worried. If we're here, Hay can be more secure in the future, right?
Well, that may be true, but still, so suddenly.
Hey, don't Mom and Dad think so too? Living with us would make life more stable.
When Lucas brought up the topic, my in-laws nodded happily. Before I could say anything, the conversation about living together progressed rapidly. In the end, Lucas and I decided to cancel our apartment lease and move to my in-laws' house. My in-laws were very happy about the decision to live together. Honestly, I wasn't very enthusiastic about it. However, I couldn't say anything when my in-laws said,
"Thank you, Elena."
I had to convince myself that I had made the right choice. We decided to renovate my in-laws' old house after moving in together. Although the loan was in Lucas's name, we agreed to pay it back together. But one night, a month after we moved in together, Lucas said,
I have something to tell you.
His parents were already there, looking very serious. Lucas was the first to speak.
Elena, I'll be blunt. I've decided to take over my parents' factory.
What? What are you talking about? Weren't your parents going to close the factory?
It's a waste to close the factory that my father and mother have worked so hard to protect. I've decided to increase production again as their son.
Lucas declared this with great enthusiasm. His parents were also sparkling with joy. But our livelihoods were at stake. We couldn't afford for him to quit his job and reduce our income. Although it was awkward in front of his parents, I told him the truth. Wait a minute. We have a renovation loan for this house. We have to live our lives. So why are you suddenly?
It's okay, Elena. Besides, I quit my job.
Lucas said. What? Are you kidding me? Why would you do that without consulting me?
It's not like that. I talked to my parents about it. Anyway, I'll show you that I can protect this factory. So please support me, Elena.
Suddenly like this. I tried to persuade him to change his mind, but neither he nor my in-laws would listen. Despite my desperate pleas, Lucas was forced to take over his parents' factory. For about half a year after that, it was a tumultuous time. Although he took over the factory, it was impossible for him to suddenly take on all aspects of management, as he had previously worked in a completely different field. The transactions didn't go well, and the few remaining customers left, and sales dropped to zero. The deficit was incomparable to anything before. During that time, I had to pay off the renovation loan alone, and the burden increased dramatically. Lucas, my in-laws' meals, high heating costs, and various other daily necessities, all had to be paid for from my income, and my savings, which had been increasing little by little, stopped increasing one day. I lost my energy and started to spend more time in a daze. Talking with colleagues at work was the only time I could relax. Lucas's income is almost zero, but he's not worried at all. For now, let's talk properly soon. Otherwise, I'll be the only one suffering. I decided to talk to Lucas that night. After dinner and a bath, I brought up the topic to him. Lucas, I have something to tell you. As if interrupting me, he said,
Oh, by the way, my sister will be living with us from next week.
What? Why is your sister coming?
She's coming for a childbirth visit. Her husband is busy with work, so she's coming to stay with us.
Wait a minute. You know how difficult life is in this house, right? It's impossible to bear the burden of your sister's life. Besides, there's no room.
We can lend her our bedroom. We can sleep on the sofa.
I absolutely hate sleeping on the sofa. It will affect my work the next day.
You're just a dental assistant at work.
Hey, think about it more. We can't support your sister's childbirth in this situation. No matter how hard it is for my sister-in-law, I can't just accept it silently. With my current job, I'm barely able to pay off the renovation loan. Moreover, if something happens during childbirth, it's not just a matter of responsibility. Lucas showed me a face that seemed to be a hassle when I expressed my feelings, and sighed deeply.
Hey, Elena, my sister is my family. So she's your sister-in-law, right? Why are you saying such cold things?
Cold things? Lucas, you should think more about it. It's okay if we're behind on normal life, but right now I'm managing everything with my income alone. My sister-in-law is originally a housewife and has no income.
It won't change much if there's one more person. Besides, we can take care of my sister-in-law's child first. Elena, you like children, don't you?
That's not the issue. Anyway, I can't do it. If you want to take care of your sister, you should fix your life first. I said firmly and got into bed. Lucas sighed and left the bedroom. Of course, I was angry with him, but he would surely understand my feelings. Lucas will surely understand in the end. If I say this much, he will surely reconsider. I told myself that I trusted him and repeated, "It's okay," to myself many times. The next day was a day off from work, so I woke up slowly. I yawned and headed to the living room, where I found Lucas and my in-laws. I hurriedly put on my gown, and Lucas was the first to speak.
Sit there, Elena.
Huh?
Come on, hurry up. We have something to talk about.
I felt an unusual atmosphere and sat next to Lucas as he told me to. What do you want to talk about? And why are your parents here too?
It's about yesterday. My sister is coming.
Oh, that. But we talked about it yesterday.
Your selfishness is causing trouble for my father and mother.
When Lucas brought up the topic, my in-laws, who had been silent until then, began to speak slowly.
You dislike her coming back, didn't you? What's going on?
She's coming back for a childbirth visit. Why don't you accept her?
Wait a minute. Do you both know the current situation of our house? We're not even making ends meet.
You're living well enough now, so there's no problem.
That's right. One more person won't make a big difference in expenses.
What are these people saying? They're not paying a penny and making me pay for everything. It's no joke to add one more person in this situation. I feel like I'm being made the bad guy, and I feel anxious. If I keep quiet any longer, I'll really end up doing what they want. I appealed to Lucas again when we were alone. Hey, Lucas, I can't do it. I haven't been able to save money for the past few months, and I can't take any more burden.
Ha! Is that it again? My sister is pregnant. Can't you help a little?
If you say that, then please share the living expenses. Your parents receive a pension, don't they? But they use all of it themselves.
It's okay to do that much. My parents have been struggling until now. Let them have a little freedom.
So, if you're saying that, I'm asking you to help a little too. Sorry, but don't increase my burden anymore. I became angry with Lucas, who didn't try to listen to me. I was so angry that I breathed through my shoulders. Seeing me like that, Lucas glared at me.
Do you want to lower my or my parents' impression of you that much?
What are you talking about?
My mother said, Elena should have more awareness as a wife. It's common for a wife to follow her husband's family policy. You have too much ego.
I looked straight into his eyes and said, "Don't be ridiculous. That's no different from being just a housekeeper. I've been watching you without saying anything about the factory issue. But this time, it's impossible. I can't bear any more burden." I poured out all my feelings. The unimaginable words came out of his mouth right after that.
Don't be so selfish. That's why you're no good. If you can't obey my mother, we'll get a divorce.
At that moment, all my emotions turned to anger. I thought I could understand him. It was the moment when that expectation collapsed in an instant. What's wrong with you? Don't make me more irritated. I know your sister-in-law is having a hard time, but are you telling me to bear more burden? That's not a joke. I'm sorry, but I can't do that anymore. Even if he hinted at divorce, my mind didn't change. I don't expect anything from him anymore. I told him clearly, who was with a triumphant grin. Okay, I got it. Divorce. But you'll regret it.
Ha! I won't regret it. You'll be the one to regret it. Women are more damaged when they get divorced.
You can say whatever you want. Well then, that's it. Contact me when the divorce papers are ready. I left the house with my luggage packed. I was surprised at how easily I had done it. I went to a real estate agent and signed a contract for an apartment near my company. Until the move-in date, I decided to stay at a friendly colleague's house. A few days later, my mother called me to tell me that the divorce papers had been sent. Since I hadn't told them about the divorce, my parents were surprised, but when I explained the situation, they agreed that it was better to get a divorce. I signed and submitted the divorce papers that were sent to me. Finally, I was able to end my relationship with my in-laws. 2 months later, I had gotten used to my new life and was almost forgetting about Lucas when he called me. Lucas's name was on the caller ID. Since I hadn't received any calls from him since the divorce, I hadn't deleted his contact information. I thought we had nothing to talk about, so I ignored the call, but my smartphone kept ringing. Reluctantly, I answered the phone. As soon as I tapped the call button,
Elena!
I heard Lucas's anxious voice. What do you want? I asked him curtly, and he began to speak in a panicked tone.
Why aren't you transferring money anymore?
Money? What are you talking about?
Don't play dumb. It's about the renovation loan. You've been transferring the payment to my account, but why did you stop?
It seems he thought I would continue to pay off the loan. There's no such thing as a free lunch after the divorce. Lucas continued to shout at me over the phone.
Transfer the money right now. You're still my wife.
I was so angry that I told him straight. Wife? I'm already your ex-wife. I quit being your wife. Didn't I tell you that you would regret it?
What? Why are you suddenly saying that?
Don't you understand that I was the one who made your life possible? You made me bear all the burden of your life. You didn't even thank me and insulted me and cut me off when I expressed my opinion. It's all your own fault.
Okay, I got it. I'll come back to you.
What?
Let's pretend we didn't get divorced. Is that okay? Don't be stubborn and come back.
Even after all this time, he still seems to think he has value. Does he think I still have feelings of a love for him? I felt completely insulted and let out all my pent-up frustration on him. Don't mess with me. Who would want to get back together with trash like you? I don't want anything to do with garbage like you.
Hey, Elena.
I tried to compromise, but it was you and your family who ruined everything. We're strangers now, and we don't have any obligation to help each other. If you understand, don't contact me again. Go to lone hell on your own. If you bother me again, I'll report you to the police. I hung up without waiting for a response. I set my phone to reject calls before he could call again. Since then, I haven't heard from Lucas. Or rather, it's more accurate to say that he has no way to contact me. He doesn't know my new address, and he can't call me either. Perhaps the words "report you to the police" had an impact, as he never showed up at my workplace. Nowadays, Lucas is apparently working double shifts at the factory and a night job. He still has the renovation loan to pay off, so he'll probably continue to struggle for a while. Well, it's no longer my concern. According to rumors, Lucas's sister-in-law, who stayed with him, was already divorced. What's more, the child in her belly was not her husband's, but her lover's. She was sued for damages by her husband and her lover disappeared. She returned to her parents' home, hiding all of this. Even after giving birth, she still lives in her parents' home without working. On the other hand, I'm enjoying a comfortable life in my new apartment. Since I no longer have to support my in-laws' lifestyle, I have more room in my budget. I've saved more than enough money, which I couldn't do before. I'm glad I got divorced. I can say that from the bottom of my heart. I might feel lonely when I look around in the future. But even so, I want to live my life prioritizing my own happiness.
How was this story? Please subscribe to the channel. Well then, see you in the next video.